Hi guys, it's ASBYT and this is the Huawei P30 Pro. So much hype, so many people talking about it, but should you buy it? This video is my unboxing and my first impressions review, so without further ado, let's get straight to it. Now before we start, I do have a smartphone giveaway coming very soon, and all the information about how you can enter will be coming in one of my next videos. So if you want to be in it to win it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you've turned on the notification bell so that when I post that video, you are notified and you can watch it and find out. Right, so this is the Huawei P30 Pro retail box, and I have here the 128GB of storage with 8GB of RAM Aurora color variant. It is my personal favorite. There are other color variants and I will leave all of them listed and linked below. So as we deliciously open the box, yeah, I said deliciously, and when we take off the top, you are of course greeted with the phone, and as you can see before we unwrap it, some wonderful colours shining through from that Aurora back, but we'll come back to that. Also inside the box we have a little box with a SIM card ejector tool on the front, and inside we have the manuals. There isn't a case, which is a little bit disappointing. I know a lot of people will go out and buy their own, but it's just nice to have one straight from the box, just in case you weren't able to get around to buying a case and you want it protected until that time comes. We do however have headphones, which is a nice touch, and then we have the Type-C charging cable and the charging plug, which of course supports 40 watts super fast wired charging, which is of course the same as the Mate 20 Pro from last year. 0 to 70% battery in 30 minutes, which as I've mentioned before on the Mate 20 Pro is very impressive. The actual battery cell is 4200 mAh, which means you're going to have absolutely no problems getting through a standard day's use, and if you do need a bit of juice, that super fast wired charging is really handy. The P30 Pro also supports fast wireless charging and reverse wireless charging as well. And here we have it here. Now I'm going to try not to bore you taking too long talking about the specs because you've probably heard that hundreds of times already, but if you don't know, very quickly, we have the Kirin 980 SoC, which is currently Huawei's latest and greatest. It is the same SoC as the Mate 20 Pro from late last year. A lot of the new hardware comes in the Mate line, and then the P line borrows it at the start of the following year. The GPU inside is the Mali G76 MP10, IP68 water and dust resistant. As I've said, 8GB of RAM, 128GB of storage. There is also expandable storage available, but it's Huawei's in-house nano memory as opposed to your standard micro SD card, so you may find getting hold of one slightly more difficult, but on the whole, I don't really feel it's a negative thing. We've got a 6.47-inch OLED display with a PPI density of 398, 2340 by 1080, so it is only a 1080p display, which is actually a downgrade from the Mate 20 Pro, which had a Quad HD display, which I think at this end of the market is possibly an area that I'm a bit disappointed with Huawei in, but to be fair, on the whole, most people probably wouldn't, unless side by side, be able to tell whether they're looking at a 1080p screen or a Quad HD one. Still think they should have included it though. Naughty Huawei. That just sounds wrong. So now that we've got that aside, how does it feel in the hand? Well, I've obviously been using the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus recently, and it's similarly, it's an interesting word to say, similarly to the S10 Plus, it's very comfortable to hold, curved on both front and back, lovely sloping edges. Now actually, personally, it's very close, but I think the Huawei P30 Pro is a touch more comfy in the hand, but like I said, it's very slight, they're very similar. The back design is absolutely gorgeous. It's probably the nicest finish I've seen on a smartphone today. I generally do like the Mi Mix line from Xiaomi, but I think this one is currently the one to beat now. Enough weight to it to feel premium without being really heavy and bulky in the hand. What I do quite like as well is the really sharp, flat ends to the device, which completely contrasts with the slopes of the sides. I think that's a really nice touch, and at this end of the market, it's the attention to detail that really counts. You also have an IR blaster on the top as well, if that's something you're interested in. Of course, you have the teardrop or the U-shaped notch on that front display for that front-facing camera, and it's personal preference. Would you prefer something like this, or do you prefer the punch-hole cutout that you see on some of the Samsung phones, for example, or even on a Huawei sub-brand? What's your typical design for that front-facing camera? Now, that front-facing camera is a 32 megapixel sensor with f2.0 aperture, and in terms of video recording, you'll get 1080p at 30 frames a second. We'll do a quick selfie test. On first impressions, it's looking pretty sharp. Now, Huawei do tend to get accused of overdoing it on the software front in terms of beautify, AI, colors, things like that. However, on first impressions, it doesn't appear too over the top. If we flip to the reverse, we've got one 40 megapixel sensor with f1.6 aperture. It's optically stabilized, which is a first for a sensor size this big in a smartphone. The secondary sensor is an ultra-wide 20 megapixel one with f2.2 aperture, and the third is a 8 megapixel telephoto lens that's capable of hybrid zoom, which in layman's terms means it can combine optical zoom and software-based zoom to enable the possibility to zoom in up to 10 times. So in order to actually zoom or go wide, for example, it's all on this little bar here. Now, Huawei do like to indulge in some marketing hype, but it's still very impressive. It's the best zoom on a smartphone camera right now. Careful, no one likes a pervy Pete, alright? Pervy Pete. Now, of course, we're not done there with a triple camera lens setup as you think you're getting from first glance, because we've got a fourth small little camera lens there as well, and that is time of flight, which is going to help with depth perception. So again, we'll do a quick test for you on the rear camera. We'll do a portrait mode shot. It appears to be quite aggressive with this focus hunting, so something to keep an eye on, but I'm sure we shouldn't have too many problems. Let's take one more. Lots of functions available on this device. Now, I will be doing lots of videos on the actual camera on here, including comparisons with the likes of the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, the iPhone XS Max, the Pixel 3 XL, and possibly the OnePlus 6T as well, so that you can get an idea of just what you can get on the market right now in terms of camera. Now, one disappointing thing for a lot of people will be the fact that the P30 Pro doesn't have currently stereo speakers. We are due to believe we're going to see that with the Mate 30 Pro in October this year. So if sound is your thing and stereo speakers are important, then swerve the P30 Pro. I'll just give you a quick demonstration of the speaker. So this is full volume now. Pro, and potentially two features that we've been waiting for. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Now, you do have an in-the-display fingerprint sensor. Very easy to set up. It is optical and not 3D like on the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, which is more secure, but I find this one quicker. So do you prefer something that's quick, or do you prefer something that's more secure? It works nigh on every single time. Downsides of an optical fingerprint sensor is, of course, nighttime. It will shine quite bright and is a little bit annoying. It is what it is. Face recognition as well. It is 2D and not 3D, so it does give you the warning. It can be unlocked by an object which looks like your face. Can a mug unlock it? Who knows? Maybe we should do a video on that. But again, it is very, very fast, and you can choose between having to swipe up after it recognizing the face or just unlocking straight away. I'll always go with unlocking straight away. It saves a step. Now, often when people talk about Huawei products, they talk about how great the hardware is, but how it's let down by the software. It is running Android 9 Pie, but it does have EMUI, their in-house skin over the top. And while it's not my favorite skin, it's something that I can get used to. You can, of course, put a launcher over it, and you can actually customize it as well. You can use gestures, which work very, very well. Swipe up from the middle to go home, swipe up and hold to go to your recent apps, and then swipe in from the right or swipe in from the left to go back. Very similar to, as you would expect, Honor, but also Xiaomi as well, almost identical. And you can also add an app drawer if that's something you want, more like stock Android. So for my overall first impressions review conclusion, I have to say that the Huawei P30 Pro is an amazing smartphone. There are no two ways about it. I will be switching, putting my SIM card in here to test it in more detail, for then follow up full review and comparison videos. In the time I've spent with this off camera, I've been playing around with the camera and it seems quality. Design and feel in the hand, brilliant. And also battery being the same as the Huawei Mate 20 Pro is going to be great. But, and we have a but, as stated, it's got the same battery as the Mate 20 Pro, and that is just a start of a reoccurring theme which sees most of the design and hardware to be very, very similar, if not the same, as the Mate 20 Pro, which is now far less expensive. The same SoC across both in the Kirin 980, very similar design. This one here in the UK retails for $899, whereas the Mate 20 Pro, as an example, can be found on Amazon now in the UK for around $765. So you're making nearly an £150 saving on the Mate 20 Pro when they're very, very similar devices. And in some cases, like the 3D facial recognition, is actually better on the Mate 20 Pro. Yes, of course, you have the larger notch, so that's another thing to consider. But certainly, if you're looking at the P30 Pro, don't count out the Mate 20 Pro even now in 2019. Nearly £150 cheaper. Something to consider. It also, like the Mate 20 Pro, doesn't have a headphone jack, so if you're one of these people who still is dying to hang on to the headphone jack, again, don't get the P30 Pro. Outside of that, like I said, an amazing phone. Here's where you guys come in. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the Huawei P30 Pro. Is it the smartphone to beat currently in 2019? Full review video coming very soon. And also camera comparison, speed tests, battery tests with all of the other big hitters currently right now on the market. So if you want to see those, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You've turned on the notification bell so that when I post those videos, you are notified. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.